What's up, everybody? Timothy here.
And Madai.
And we are here for another episode of Saved But
Not Churchy.
Today, we're talking about a topic that needs to be addressed. A phrase that Madai, I hear all the time.
Yeah.
That it is working my nerves.
Okay, what is it?
A phrase is this: God doesn't see color.
Ooh. So we're going to talk about some things today.
We finna get into this.
Let's go.
Let's go. God doesn't see color. Or we'll hear someone say, well, I don't see color. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have said this phrase, or maybe you have heard this phrase, but it's typically a phrase that we hear when there's like racial conflict or prejudice and things of that nature.
Or condemnation, if you think about it.
Yeah, or condemnation. And it's a phrase that we heard constantly this last couple of years, where individuals was just trying to maybe my assumption is unintentionally, or maybe there's truly believed that kind of phrase would bring healing, or it would bring unity to the conflict, racial tension, all this stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
I can be honest with you, Madai.
Okay.
I hate the phrase.
Why?
I can't stand the phrase.
Why?
I hate the phrase God doesn't see color.
I don't like it either, but why?
And I hate the phrase that I don't see color. I can't stand it because I believe it is just this. It is false. It is wrong. And it is not how we should go through life.
You know, I was thinking about this the other day. So sometimes when Hezekiah, our son, our 5-year-old, comes from school, he tells me, "Mom, I made a new friend," because he's actually in public school now. He had never been to public school. We had him in a Christian church. A Christian school for a while. But now that he's in private school, he comes home and he tells me, "Mom, I made a new friend." Right? And I'm like, "Oh, awesome, baby." And then he tells me, "Oh, he's a peach friend," or "He's a brown boy," because children see color. Okay.
Yes.
Because we're literally teaching them about colors and culture and different countries and different languages. But yet when we grow up, we try to say things like, we don't see color or all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, we do.
Everybody does.
Ignoring color is different than not being able to see it.
Yes.
I'm like, we're not colorblind.
Come on.
So we do see it. We just try not to ignore it. And like, for example, like, when somebody robs a store, right? What is the first things that the police ask? You know, what their height, right? Their color. They ask what color they are, because our color, it doesn't necessarily per se define our whole identity, but it is a part of us.
It's who we are.
Right. And you say this all the time, but we're this color by divine design.
Yeah,
right?
I'm black by divine design, not by accident.
Did you say melanin by divine?
Melanin by divine design.
Right.
My melanin is not an oops.
We should make that into a t-shirt.
Right? Come on, I think we should.
I think we should.
And so, listen, like even the other day, you're talking about speaking of Hezekiah, like he brought a coloring book home.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a bunch of different people. On the first page, he colored them are like peach skin. And then the second page, he started coloring them all brown. And I didn't say anything to it, but I noticed it.
I saw it one day. Yeah,
right?
Morning.
And I didn't tell you, yesterday we're reading the book, and he read the last sentence.
Oh, snap.
I'm like, all right, Hezekiah, 5 years old, reading sentences. And so super dope. Anyways, and so I believe we should see color. I believe everybody should see color. The notion to say that God doesn't see color, to me, is saying that God made a mistake in me.
Right.
Or God made a mistake in you.
And the color of my skin.
Yeah, the color of your skin. You are who God called you to be. When God knit you together in your mother's womb, your skin was not an afterthought. It is who you are, is what He has called you to be, and it is beautiful. The notion of when someone say, "I don't see color," the thought that in order for you to perceive me or to be in a relationship with me, you have to void different aspects of me to be palatable to you, is mind-boggling to me. And I get it to some extent of why these phrases and stuff will happen. So I'm not throwing shade, but I am trying to sound an alarm that we should get beyond this phrase. We should get beyond this statement, because it is not a healing statement to people of color.
Right.
It is not. It's a destructive statement.
It's almost like, okay, you went through this because of the color of your skin, but you can get over it now.
Oh my gosh, yes. Because if you don't see color, then you will be ignorant and ignore the cries of pain that goes through the the pain that's connected to the pattern of people of color.
Right.
Right. And so like this whole past year, I mean, 2 years, this has been going on forever. Like I said, the thing with George Floyd and everything that really grasped a hold of the worldwide attention and movement started happening and things of nature, when praise God, all the changes that taken place and things of nature. But the racial profiling and the police brutality and all that other stuff, that's just a Thursday or every day of the week. And so for the longest time when I was younger, especially before I just made up my mind that people just don't care, I would tell people about my experiences, and they will say things, well, you're just maybe you're just seeing it wrong, or maybe you're trying to find racism on every single rock, or racism.
I've heard that a lot,
racism
actually.
not a thing again. Martin Luther King Jr. fixed racism. This is the type of things that I heard all the time. And so then when all this stuff abrupted, to hear Christians, and again, maybe they had the right heart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe.
Which a lot of times that's what happens.
I'm trying to give myself the benefit of the doubt. But then when they hear people of color saying, hey, please stop saying that, but they continue to say that, or they will say, well, how many
if
times
we cut ourselves, we
Oh my God.
we all bleed red.
Yes.
Which is true.
This is true, but it isn't healing.
No.
It doesn't bring any kind of reconciliation or any kind of unity to the matter. So this is what I realized, and we'll get into the why I think why I believe maybe this phrase is why people say it, but it's a cop out. It's a cop out because what was happening and what I was hearing and and things have been told to me. Oh my gosh, people just trying to tone police the cry of the pain of Black and brown indigenous individuals and minorities, is they were saying, well, God doesn't see color, you shouldn't see color, this is just a devil, it's not a skin issue, it's a sin issue, and all that other stuff, or the devil's just trying to bring us divided. And it's like, no, what we're trying to say is that, hey, this is really happening, and then there's really issues with prejudice and racism, systematic issues and things of that nature. This stuff is real. The problem is real.
Yeah.
And we have to go beyond just praying about something. Prayer is great. You know what I mean? Prayer is good, but prayer should call us to some form of action. So where individuals were simply feeling like they were having a mic drop moment to all this stuff is going on, and their sermons was God doesn't see color, was disinflating. It was sad. It was depressing.
Yeah.
It was disappointing to many people of color.
Absolutely. So, for example, when there's unforgiveness in somebody, right? And you pray about it, but a lot of times the Lord is calling you to deal with the issue. So, like, whether it's to go to the person and tell them, hey, whatever, whether it's you asking for forgiveness or backwards or whatever, sometimes it requires action. Yeah. Right. So the same thing comes with this as well. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it requires for you you can't just say, I don't see color. What if you do see color and you see the pain of what that color went through, so that you can help them through that emotion? Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. So I was just thinking about that. I'm like, I think it's important. Okay. So our color is connected to our culture, and our culture is connected to our history. So when you say things sometimes that say like, I don't see color, then you're saying you don't see my culture. Yeah. And if you don't see my culture, then you're also putting my history aside. That's it. And if you put my history aside, you don't understand where I'm coming from and why I see things the way I see. So basically what I feel like people are saying sometimes when they say I don't see color is, I don't want to take the time to understand why you believe the way you believe. You know what I'm saying? So because we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different history. So we all view we view life in a different way. And it's okay. It's okay to do that. But sometimes for people to come to a point of healing, they have to go back to a lot of the things that they've dealt with right? I mean, we were listening to a podcast the other day about generational trauma, and they were talking about the plantations, and how do you say Auschwitz? I can't even pronounce that, my accent, but
Holocaust.
with the Holocaust, yes, when all that happened, and they were talking about all that stuff, and they were talking about generational trauma and all that stuff. I think that when people say that, I don't see your color, and you don't see my if you don't see my color, you don't see our culture, you don't see my history, then you can't understand my trauma, and you can't understand my pain and where I'm coming from. And so I think it's super important for our people to understand that this is why we say it's not okay for you to say that.
Yeah. And then in a sense, I don't understand with this notion, like here in America, especially, where there's many things we will say, never forget, like when 1911 is about to happen, never forget, or people talk about the forefathers, never forget. But then with the pain of especially African Americans in the world, they say, stop living in the past. You should forget, don't all this other stuff. So that's what I'm saying. This notion of taking God's, I firmly believe, to say that God doesn't see color is taking his name in vain.
Oh.
And taking God's name in vain.
Like you're putting your opinion on God's mouth.
Yeah, right. Basically. It's saying this is what God. No, that isn't furthest away from the truth. The furthest away of the truth. Taking God's name in vain. Taking God's name in vain is not saying, "Oh God, oh Jesus." That's not what's taking his name in vain. Using God's name as vain is using his name to endorse a particular selfish agenda and whatnot. That's what it's taking his name in vain is, and we've seen this rampant through Christianity for years and years and years and years and years. So here's the thing. I'm trying my best to like really highlight just the urgency of why I feel like it's important for us to change how we talk about these issues of color and things, of how it should not be tiptoed around and like walking on eggshells as if to find the beauty in color or someone's culture is this weird thing, and it shouldn't be at all. And so because the same people who will say that I don't see color or God doesn't see color, they'll see the benefits of that culture. They'll recognize Mexican food, but so you recognize Mexican food, but you can't recognize Mexican. You can recognize Filipino food, but you can't see the culture of the Filipinos. There's three ways. There's many ways, but three ways you can really understand and connect to the culture of the people: is their music, is their food, is their language. And so the story of soul food, the history of soul food, and where it came, the scraps from the master's table, and how black people made something incredible cuisine out of that had affected all throughout the South and all around the nation. That food shares a story. And
Mexican food too.
Yeah, you know what I mean, Sim?
They actually made a book, and I don't remember, it's something about chocolate. Oh, como agua para chocolate. Okay, the book is not for children, but I remember they kind of. I started reading it when I was like in high school or something like that. And they kind of it's like illustrative thing of how food came to be from Mexican people. But even our food, a lot of our food, there's a history that's connected to our food.
Yeah.
You know, like where chilies came from, what we had to do to get the corn, all that stuff. So everything, so if you can't see my color, and you can't see our food. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like our food is connected to us, to our history, to who we are. So yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge. You can't just like our food and not understand that we have a history behind it.
Yes.
Sometimes there's sweat, blood, and tears that came behind acquiring this food and how it came to be. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think we got to get to the place where we're not saying God doesn't see color, I don't see color. We're saying, I love your color. I see you. Yes. It is who you are. I refuse to be colorblind, because to acknowledge you and your completeness and is to acknowledge God and his creativity.
And his perfection.
Right? Culture is beautiful. Color is beautiful. Amen. And it needs to be celebrated. So this is what I think, just to try to land a plane in a bit. This is what I think, maybe this notion of I don't see color, maybe it was a solution to people who were raised under a very white supremacy or internalized racism or whatever, where they viewed other cultures as beneath them. And there's a generation who rose up and said, no. That is wrong. We're not any better than them just because they're different than us. And so then in that context, to when someone would say to their own community, let's for white community example, they will all would say, okay, listen, no, that black person, especially the Jim Crow and segregation, they're not any different than us. We bring them all together. We cut ourselves and we bleed red. We're all the same. Maybe that in that context for their culture and their conversation that was sensitive to what they were trying to overcome, then I can say that will make sense. I think that's an incredible thing.
And maybe it was used in a context of trying to bring peace to a time where there was just so much chaos.
Yeah.
And it maybe helped at that time.
But peace that was not at the mercy of someone else looking in the mirror and hating what they see. Right. That's not peace. And this is what I think. And with that, even this last year, when the Black Lives Matter and all the marches and all the conversations, and I kept hearing people say, we need unity, we need unity, we need unity. And my question was, is your perception of unity when black people are shut up? When black people and people of color stop talking, is that your idea of unity? Did you perceive that there were unity in the past before George Floyd and all this other jazz, when the black and brown people and minorities been screaming out for justice and screaming out for equality for this longest time, but you perceived it was unity because they never felt like you were trustworthy or a safe place to have these conversations with bearing their heart. And now this year where they've finally spoken up and they've seen how maybe you reacted to it, now they know you are not a safe person to talk about these issues, or maybe they realize you are a safe person to talk about these issues. So with that, I can understand going back to cut us all, we bleed red, we're all the same people. I can get that in that context. But people like my mom is and she's a
byproduct.
Yeah, she grew up in the time where she was told she can't shop at this. She would tell her mom, why can't I shop at this particular place? And it was for a white only place. And so this stuff isn't a long time ago. Yeah. We're not many generations removed. This is my mama. This is my grandma. My grandparents was hearing stories about being chased by the KKK and hiding in the woods and pushing dead, decomposing lynch bodies hung from trees. This is not a long time ago. It's people still living today. It's people in authority today. So that black girl who wanted to find a place in society, who had to subject herself into the standards of European beauty, who then would try to perm her hair to let it sit down when God destined it to grow up. And so where she got patches into her hair, burning her scalp with these perms to look
the glue and everything.
The glue to sit into the professional the perception of what professionalism was, right? And so for her to experience all of that and then constantly being called ugly or hearing that dark is ugly and all this other jazz. Good
hair, bad hair.
Yeah, good hair, bad hair. And so hearing when James Brown will come with the song that says, say it aloud, dun, 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 I'm black and I'm proud. What he was saying is for you to see, hey, you are black. Be proud to be black. Love who you are. You're not dirty. You're not ugly. You are beautiful. And so at the same time, you got on one end, you got people saying, I don't see color. Then people are then in their own households, have to tell that person of color that you are beautiful. And then to go in the churches, hearing them talk about this using, the illustration. I went on a mission trip. And they will use this illustration. They will go into these black kids and all that stuff, and they will say, "Okay, listen, black is a color of sin. Black is a color of death. Red is a color of his blood, but white is a color of purity. White is a color of perfection. White is a color of holiness." And then I would have them come to me, and say, why are they saying black is evil? That black is and so, you know what I'm saying? And so these are the things that really have to keep in mind. I had to explain it to them.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it was so stupid. And I told the people that, hey, we got to find another way to illustrate the sacrifice of Jesus without calling black evil and black dirty. And because they've been hearing this all their life, where they look in the mirror and they keep saying the same thing. And now this whitewash Savior with permed hair Jesus is
perfect blue eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that is not remotely of what we see and read and see in Scripture, and is then telling them that they are dirty, whatever, even though He created them that way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why this notion of God and see color? We really need to pull this thread. And I believe we need to get this phrase out of our vocabulary.
I'll just say this. If we believe that God created perfect. Okay, if we believe in God, then we believe that God is perfect. And if we believe that God is perfect, then we have to believe that the God that is perfect created perfection. Mm-hmm. If we don't believe that God created perfection, then we don't believe in God at all.
I see it.
We just believe in an image or an idea of who we think God is, but not who He really is.
Yeah.
And that goes for a lot of things, not just this topic, but I just wanted to say it out because even in this topic, if you believe that God has created perfection, if you believe God is perfect, then the color of our skin is perfection. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not that we're perfect, not that we're sinless, but the color of our skin was created with a purpose. I was born into the culture I was born in for a time such as this, for a purpose. Mm-hmm. For a calling, right? He says, you said this all the time, that you don't believe that God brought us together just because that He brought us together from different cultures for a specific, calling, right? So I believe that is also. So if whoever you are, whatever you were going through, and if you ever, I was gonna say the story. I'm sorry, I went back and forth. But remember, I think I told you this. I was watching this little clip. I think I was on Facebook, and they brought a whole bunch of little kids. They were all different shades of brown. Right, some were darker, some were lighter, some were mixed, whatever. I believe this was in the Dominican Republic, and then they brought little baby dolls to them, and they brought like white baby dolls with blonde hair, and then they brought black baby dolls with dark hair, and then all different color baby dolls, and they put them in front of them, and they told them, okay, which one's the prettiest? And they would always pick the little white doll with the blonde hair, right? And they said, which one's the ugliest? And they would pick the dark baby with the dark baby doll with the coarse hair. And they asked them, they're like, but you're Brian, why do you think that the white baby doll is pretty, but the black one is not? And they would like look down. It's like what did you call it? Internalized racism?
Internalized racism.
But I just thought it was the saddest thing. Like they already are embedded with that self-hate. They hate their color of their skin. And I thought that was the saddest thing. And I'm like, you know what? And if we talk about a lot of self-love. You know what I'm talking? Self-love because of this. But what about the color of our skin? We should love the way that God created us. Mm-hmm. We honor God when we love ourselves the way we were created. And we do have a lot of internalized racism, and sometimes this stuff is something that we need to bring forward and heal from that.
That's it.
Because that could be traumatic too.
Yeah, I hear you. This past year, I wish we could rewind and go back and the Church of America have a completely different response, because it was so alarming to me that people may loved me as a black man, but they had no love for black people. And it has been so alarming. And where I had to live before with the benefit of the doubt, but now I don't have the benefit of the doubt with some individuals. I have their truth. So how do I perceive them through the notion that they're racist? And some in leadership, and pastors and ministers and missionaries and teachers. And so how do we perceive this? And when there's this constant notion to void an individual of their color, their experience, and their culture to be palatable to them, but yet still platform them because they play well, they preach well, they sing well, they perform well, they serve well. And so I'm telling you, this notion of God doesn't see color and I don't see color is a detriment to unity, because it doesn't bring unity. Listen, true unity. Corinthians talks about some's a hand, some's a foot, and all this other great thing. But true unity is not expecting the hand to no longer be the hand or the foot to no longer be the foot. Right. True unity is understanding, hey, I need you to be exactly who you are, and in the best version of who you are, to come alongside to do what you do. Man, when the foot does a foot, the foot does a good job. When the heart does a heart, the heart does a good job. When that heart pumps and lets that foot move, then there's forward progression. And so this whole thing where this outcry for unity, where people were literally saying uniformity, they were saying, hey, believe like I believe, shut up, stop living in the past, stop making racism a thing again, and all this other crap.
My gosh.
it's not unity.
No.
And so anyway, so I think
A hand doesn't function without a wrist.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But the wrist can't become a hand for you to function properly. You know what I'm saying? So we need each other. We cannot function without each other. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in. Go ahead.
No, I feel you. So anyways, I believe that we need to learn how to cook. Okay.
Cook Mexican food?
You know what I mean? I love Mexican food.
Hey, it takes forever, but it's good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so we need to learn how to cook. What do I mean by that? If you go to the restaurant, all right, and you're going to cook, you got to buy different ingredients. Mm-hmm. And you put these different ingredients together. You cook them, you mix them, you chop them up. A chemistry takes place whether it's baked or whether it's sauteed or whether the case, the end result is beautiful because a pepper does a pepper. Hey. I mean, the onion does an onion. That steak does a steak. That egg is straight up egging. You know what I'm saying? And it's this understanding that me grabbing this thing and it being the best version, celebrating of itself. I'm not asking that egg to be dark or that ham to be a chicken. I'm wanting it to be faithful to what it is and who it is and to be the best version of itself possible. If we would learn how to go through life to celebrate the beauty of every individual and stop taking God's name in vain with the phrase of God doesn't see color, and then internalizing this false information of that we should live in a way that we don't see color. I believe we will get rid of that and learn how to walk through life celebrating the beauty of all individuals and the culture of all individuals.
Every color type. Everyone is
every
beautiful.
single person. Right. And every single experience has something to bring to the table that's incredible. That we will learn how to just appreciate and celebrate. So that's what I was saying. And I think this is a notion we have to get to. There's a reason why Martin Luther King Jr. said that that Sunday is the most segregated day of the week. Mm-hmm. And it will continue to be the most segregated day of the week until churches come to the grips where we need to look like heaven on earth. And so, family, that's what we want to get to you today. It's just starting this conversation, and we want to encourage you to in the comment section. What are your thoughts? How did you deal with this phrase, God doesn't see color? Maybe you're someone who just firmly believe that, God doesn't see color and we see color. Why do you believe you believe? Put it in the comment section. Mm-hmm. We'll love to hear from you, and I'm sure there'll be some great conversation about it. You have anything else to say, Madai, before we land the plane?
That's it. I think that whoever you are, love the color of your skin. Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about our hurt, and let's get healing started.
Come on. It is worth it. You are worth it. You are not an oops. You're not an accident. I always say that God's pencil doesn't have an eraser. When God knit you together in your mother's womb, it was not with threads of imperfection and oops. It was threads of purpose and destiny. Yes. And you are who God called you to be. And family, when he saw you, he said, this is good.
Hey.
Right? This is good. So I want to encourage you. I'm about to release a book pretty soon that I'm super excited about. I really do believe is going to help facilitate healing around the world, family, around the world. That's what I realized maybe why we're experiencing so much attacks from left and right. One of the reasons why, because so much things we're dreaming about and we're longing to do, and we need your help to do it. And so if you can, consider becoming a supporter and a partner to our ministry, TM Ministries. TM Ministries, no, it doesn't, to understand, it doesn't mean Timothy McCain Ministries. TM Ministries means Timothy Madai Ministries, because we are doing this together. There's things that she desires to do, like the house of prayer. Like
yes. I've always felt like the Lord wanted us to open a house of prayer. It would be so cool to have a house of prayer with people just would like sense the presence of God, would just walk off the street and just come in and just receive breakthrough, healing, all of that stuff. I think that would be super awesome. Even if we needed to even feed people while they walk off the streets, that would be super cool.
It'd be so dope. And you know what? Not only would it be so dope, it will be dope. And we need your help to do it. Office space, we have staff. We desperately need to hire more staff. And listen, when we hire, we want to be able to pay them a livable salary. Mm-hmm. But we need to live off a livable salary. Let's start there too. A livable salary, family. So where they can come into work and they don't have to worry about going to a second or third job, where they can, as houses are skyrocketing and places to live, especially here in Florida, that they be able to afford a place to live. You know what I'm saying? We want to be able to help provide and support that. And so we can't get to where God is calling us to get to without your help. So we're asking you to do this. We're believing for 1,000 people to support us at $20 a month.
That's it.
That's it. $20 a month. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do it by visiting our website at www.tmmonline.org. Click on that donate link, and you will see it'll be like monthly support or reoccurring giving. You'll see it. You'll see it right there. Click on that link, and it'll just come out every single time for the next month from that date that you book. Or you can do taxable giving, with the number is right there on the screen, which is 386-866-3311. And when you text give to that number, and make sure you reply with 3, which means monthly support, which means every single month it will come out. And
on the same day.
On the same day.
On the day that you choose.
And you can edit it, change. All you do is text edit to that same number. You can cancel it anytime. We're just asking people, can you just commit for a year? And then if you need to cancel whatever, even go that route, reach out to us. No harm, no foul, right? And so, but we need your help. There's so many things we want to do. There's conversation we need to have. The heart of this channel, Saved But Not Churchy. This is not a channel where we're just bashing the church.
No.
And it's definitely not a channel where we are just trying to rebuke the world.
Right.
There's a lot of conversation we need to have eternally that I don't feel like is not being had. And there's a bunch of elephants in the room that's not being addressed. And there's problems that's taking place because of our inability to talk about things and issues. So this channel will be a place you can expect for these conversations to happen.
Let's do it.
Anything else?
Nope, that was it.
Thank you for y'all's support. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure you give it a share. And if there's anybody you know who will benefit from this topic, make sure you are sharing it with them, families. Who will holler at you all next episode.
Yes.
God bless you. Peace.
Peace.